My mom texted me, "This year just your sister's family. No call, no apology, just a clean little cut." I stared at the screen until it blurred, then I typed one word, "Enjoy." What she didn't know was I wasn't flying back to be the extra chair again. She didn't know I owned a $5 million estate in Vermont with a table big enough for every relative she quietly pushed out. So I invited everyone else. A real Thanksgiving. Warm food. Real laughter. No favorites. And then the photos hit Facebook. By sunrise, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating Mom, Dad, my sister, over and over. Not because they missed me, because they saw what the family looked like without them. And I had to ask myself, was I being cruel? Or was I finally choosing myself? Before I tell you everything, I just need to know you're here with me. Drop a simple hi in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. Sometimes knowing someone's listening makes all the difference. And if you've ever been the afterthought in your own family, please subscribe. This channel is where we say the quiet parts out loud. My name is Gage Voss, and here's what really happened. My name is Gage Voss. I'm 31, living in Austin, Texas, and until recently I'd been coasting under the radar of my own life. I run product at a Fortune 100 company. My startup was acquired last year for more than I ever thought I'd see in my lifetime. But this isn't a story about wealth. It's a story about invisibility. About being erased so quietly, so consistently that you almost forget you exist. It was the first Monday of November when my mother texted me. I was mid-meeting, half listening to someone pitch a roadmap adjustment when my phone lit up. "This year just your sister's family. We want to keep it small. No greeting. No hope you're well. Just a clean, premeditated cut." I stared at the message for a while, like the letters might rearrange into something less familiar. But they didn't. They never do. I typed back one word, "Enjoy." Then I turned off my phone, tried to rejoin the meeting, tried to care about Q1 timelines and product migrations. But my mind wouldn't stop circling one single truth. I am 31 years old. I'm financially independent. I've built a life on my own terms. And somehow I still feel exactly like the kid at the edge of the family photo cropped out, smiling too hard, hoping someone notices. My parents live in St. Louis, Missouri. Our family gatherings are less about warmth and more about performance. Unspoken rules determine everything: who gets asked about first, who gets to tell the longest story, who sits in the best seat. And in those arrangements, my sister, Sarah, has always been the sun around which everything orbits. Sarah married Troy, the golden boy of some suburban dynasty. They have 3 children, Bo, Ren, and Lane, the crown jewels. At Thanksgiving, they arrive with matching outfits and curated anecdotes. Mom and Dad beam as if they raised royalty. Me, I learned early not to compete. I preferred code over conversation, quiet over spectacle. I was the quiet one, the techie one, the one who does something with computers. I don't blame them for not getting it. I do blame them for not trying. I remember telling them about my college acceptance, about winning a regional coding challenge, about launching my company. Each time my dad would nod politely, then pivot. "Did you hear Sarah got asked to host the PTA gala?" My mom would smile halfway, then interrupt. "Oh, Bo said the cutest thing yesterday." I still flew home for the holidays, still brought gifts, helped in the kitchen, drove my mom to the store, took family photos. I played the role of the good son not because I believed in it, but because I was terrified that not playing it would make them cut me off completely. When my company got acquired, I didn't tell them the number. When I bought my loft in downtown Austin, I texted a photo, no context. I didn't want to be questioned or worse, dismissed. Because in our family, the only acceptable form of success is the kind Sarah has: visible, digestible, and domestic. But a year ago, something changed. On a fall trip up north, I found it. A hidden estate tucked into the hills of Stowe, Vermont. Nearly 5 acres of woods and fields, a private lake, a wraparound porch, a library with floor-to-ceiling windows. It wasn't just a house, it was a new center of gravity. I bought it in cash, quietly, no announcement. I hired Harlan, a local caretaker, to manage the grounds year-round. I kept the deed in a folder marked someday. My plan was simple. Thanksgiving this year would be mine. My table, my invitation list, my life scene on my terms. So when that text from Mom arrived, it wasn't just a rejection. It was a crack in the dam I'd built around this whole identity. I opened my calendar and stared at the flight I'd booked months ago to St. Louis. No one had asked me if I was coming. They just decided. And then I remembered something. A photo from weeks ago, Mom, Dad, and Sarah's family at some winery, laughing, happy, fully funded. The "we want to keep it small" excuse rang hollow. They had time, they had energy. They just didn't want to spend it on me. I didn't call my parents. I called Marlo, my assistant and friend, someone who's watched this pattern from the sidelines for years. I told her what happened. She blinked once and said, "So, are you really going to take it like every other year? Or are you finally going to do something different?" I drove home that night with the text still echoing in my head like a fire alarm. Just your sister's family. Not "we're keeping it small." Not "we're trying something different this year," just a quiet deletion sent with surgical precision. The more I thought about it, the more something didn't sit right. If it were really about downsizing, why wasn't there any regret in her words? No apology, no warmth. Just logistics. Like I was a canceled meeting. I didn't call Mom. I didn't want another round of gaslighting wrapped in soft Midwestern niceties. Instead, I called the one person in the family who's never treated me like background noise, my cousin Calla. Calla picked up on the second ring, chipper as always. "Hey, you coming home for Thanksgiving?" "No," I said. "I just got uninvited." Silence. Then, "You too." I pulled the car over. "What do you mean, too?" Calla explained her mom. "My Aunt Twyla got a text from mine last week. Same vibe. We're keeping it small this year." Lynn's feeling tired, but Calla's voice had that edge I recognized, someone piecing together a bigger picture. I started dialing. Aunt Twyla confirmed the story. Uncle Reggie said Mom told him she wanted a quiet holiday focused on the little ones. My cousin Elijah got Lynn's having some health stuff. Each excuse tailored, each version just believable enough on its own. But together they told a different story. This wasn't a scaled-down Thanksgiving. It was a curated guest list, and only one household made the cut, Sarah's. The more I called, the clearer the pattern became. It wasn't fatigue. It wasn't logistics. It was design. Mom and Dad were orchestrating a holiday with one goal: to present the ideal family to whoever was watching. And the rest of us? We didn't fit the image. Then came Uncle Reggie's call. His voice dropped a little more cautious than usual. "Don't take it personal," he said. "They just don't want me around when Troy's parents are there. I'm divorced." That's still a mark in their book. It hit me like a punch to the chest. This wasn't about space or food or effort. It was about optics. It was about showcasing the version of the family that made Mom proudest, the one that made her look good. And people like Reggie and me threatened that narrative. I stared at my phone. The family group chat had gone dead. A separate thread had started, cousins and aunts and uncles trying to make new plans, scrambling with canceled flights and broken traditions. And for once, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt awake. I remembered Marlo's voice. Do something different. So I did. I called Calla back. "If they won't host," I said, "then I will." There was a pause. Then Calla asked the obvious question, where I hesitated for a second, then said it out loud for the first time. "I have a place in Vermont." More silence. Then I sent her a few pictures. The house, the long wooden table, the frost on the porch railings. "Gage," she breathed. "This isn't a house. This is a goddamn estate." I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because right then a new message buzzed on my screen. From Mom, as if she could feel the shift in the air. "Don't do anything to make this more complicated," she wrote. Too late. I had spent my whole life asking for a seat at her table. This time I was building my own. That night I started a group chat titled Thanksgiving Refugees. Calla, Keaton, Blair, Jasper, Rook, Aunt Twyla, Uncle Reggie. A few cousins from Dad's side, a couple from Mom's. No formalities. Just one message. If you don't have anywhere to go this Thanksgiving, you're invited to Vermont. My place. Silence at first. Then questions came pouring in. Wait, for real, like, where in Vermont? Is there enough space for everyone? You own a place big enough for this? I didn't reply with words. I dropped photos. The stone fire pit. The entry gate flanked by trees in full leaf fall. The main house under a soft blanket of frost. The guest house tucked just beyond the woods. The response was explosive. The chat blew up like I'd just dropped a bomb of joy. Within 2 hours, the group had doubled in size. Cousins added cousins. In-laws asked if they could bring friends. I realized this wasn't just a gathering. It was a quiet revolution. The next morning I called Harlan. I need to plan for 25, maybe 35 people, I told him, pacing my kitchen. Could be more. He didn't flinch. All right, he said, already moving into planning mode. I'll map out accommodations across the estate and nearby inns. I'll arrange transportation from Burlington. What's the tone of the event? Warm, I said. Not flashy. But everyone who walks through that door needs to feel they belong. Especially the ones who've spent years feeling like they didn't. We broke it down together: main house guest list, guest house overflow, family-friendly rooms at the nearby inn. We'd shuttle from the airport in groups, plan meals, create corners of calm for kids and elders, set up outdoor fire pits if the weather held, inside a library for quiet readers, a game room for teens, a media room for movies. But even with the logistics flowing, the deeper currents tugged harder. Later that afternoon, I called Uncle Reggie. I want you there, I said, at the main table. No more sidelines. He was quiet for a long moment. Gage, are you sure you know how your folks see me? That's exactly why you need to come. Some family members texted privately, cautioning me, telling me not to invite Reggie. Too much drama, one cousin said. People won't be comfortable. But I'd made my decision. If this Thanksgiving was going to be real, it couldn't be filtered through shame. Reggie belonged. We all did. Then came another turning point. In Mom's house, I was always the guy peeling potatoes in the background, told to stay out of the way while Sarah and Mom led the kitchen. This year, I wasn't peeling anything. I told Harlan to find the best chef we could afford. He recommended Chef Etienne, French-trained ex-fine dining in Manhattan, now running a boutique catering operation in Vermont. When I called Etienne, I said one thing: I don't need a showpiece. I need a meal that makes people feel safe, loved, like they were chosen. He understood immediately. We'll honor tradition, but with grace. Vermont-sourced ingredients, simple elegance, no pretense. Guests began adding +1s. Kala asked if she could bring her best friend, recently separated, nowhere to go. Jasper had a colleague from Ukraine, new in the country, alone. Of course I said yes. And it hit me, this wasn't just a family gathering anymore. It was a declaration. My table would be open. To the overlooked, the left out, the ones who always brought their own chair just in case. Then something small but strange happened. I called Grandma Dahlia to check in, just routine, or so I told myself. She sounded reserved, quieter than usual. When I asked about her Thanksgiving plans, she said, almost rehearsed, "Your mother said I should stay home this year. Rest." I paused. That didn't sound like Grandma. "Would you like a change of scenery?" I asked gently. "I've got a place up north. Peaceful, warm fireplace." She chuckled. "You take care of your part, sweetheart. Grandma knows what she's doing." I didn't push, but something about her tone stayed with me. I was planning the biggest gathering of my life. I had more control than ever. But control is an illusion, especially with family, especially with secrets. And I knew once the photos, the videos, the stories of Vermont started to leak, my parents wouldn't sit quietly. I was inviting the storm. But for the first time, I was meeting it on my own turf. I stood at my kitchen island with a legal pad full of to-dos, but only one thing truly mattered. This Thanksgiving wouldn't be revenge. It would be reclamation. I set my own rules. No passive-aggressive speeches, no public call-outs of Mom, Dad, or Sarah, no explanations, just space, safety, warmth. But even with my intentions anchored, tension was inevitable. The pressure clock was ticking. Harlan and I built a master schedule dividing guests into categories: families with kids, elders, drivers, flyers. We assigned rooms across the estate, the guest house, and the inn. Set airport pickups. Built out a meal plan. Thanksgiving dinner, next day brunch, snack stations in every corner. I wasn't just the host. I was the architect, the glue, the nerve center. I finalized the menu with Etienne stuffed turkey with cider glaze, roasted root vegetables, apple ginger pies. I booked a photographer, told them no staged glamour shots. I wanted stolen smiles, real moments. And then the counterattacks began. After her cryptic, "Don't complicate things," message, Mom sent a few more lines over the next few days. "We're keeping it quiet this year, easier on everyone. Don't drag the whole family into your personal issues." It was subtle, framed like concern. But I knew what she was doing, setting the narrative that I was the instigator, the divider. So I started saving the messages. I didn't respond, I didn't argue. But I knew how fast stories get rewritten in my family. I was done playing silent. Then I got a message from one of my younger cousins. "Hey, you sure this isn't about proving something to your mom?" There it was. The seed had been planted. Mom had already started reaching out one by one, painting me as the dramatic one. The manipulator. The hurt boy lashing out. So I adjusted. I called the people I cared about one at a time. No theatrics. "I'm hosting Thanksgiving. It's not a protest. It's an invitation. If you want to come, come. If not, no explanation needed." No one pushed back. Then came another rupture. 2 cousins. One from Dad's side, one from Mom's, refused to sit at the same table. Old drama. Years-old grudges. One messaged me. "If Reggie's going to be there, maybe it's best I don't come." I didn't argue. I made a rule. You come, you respect the space in each other for 48 hours. If you can't, I'll arrange separate accommodations, separate meal times, no forced smiles. This wasn't about fixing the family. It was about showing another way. I created zones across the estate: tea room, library, game area, heated patios. Group activities based on interest, not obligation. But the calm didn't last. A young cousin posted a story, just a sliver of the Vermont gate with the caption "Road trip soon." No location tag, but recognizable to the trained eye. Hours later, a message pinged from an old high school friend in St. Louis. "Heard you're hosting some big Thanksgiving up north, word was out." I messaged the group chat immediately. "Please don't post the location until after the holiday. Let's keep it drama-free." They understood. But that wasn't the only curveball. Vermont's forecast changed overnight: chance of heavy snow the day before guests were set to arrive. I scrambled, called Harlan, arranged plows on standby, booked SUVs with winter tires, warned guests, made indoor plans just in case: hot cider by the fireplace, movie marathons in the media room, game nights in the library. I thought I had it handled. Until Harlan got a call from the inn. A front desk clerk had received a polite inquiry, asking if a large group recently canceled plans in Missouri and rebooked here. The caller didn't leave a name. Female. Midwestern accent. Courteous. I didn't need confirmation. Mom was probing, piecing it together. And I realized, standing there holding my phone in a dead silent kitchen, this wasn't just about one dinner anymore. This was about narrative, power, legacy. And for the first time, I was the one setting the table. I landed in Vermont 1 week before Thanksgiving. The snow hadn't hit yet, but the air already carried that sharp, clean cold that wakes you up from the inside out. As Harlan drove us up the long gravel path to the estate, the trees bare tall and still seemed to watch me. I'd been here before, of course. I'd bought the place, but this time was different. This time it wasn't just mine. This time I was opening it up. The first thing I checked wasn't the Wi-Fi or the wine cellar. I walked straight into the great room, stood in the center beneath the cathedral ceiling, and looked around like I was seeing it through other people's eyes. The stone fireplace, the hand-woven rugs, the long dining table that could seat 30. I asked Harlan to bring out the place cards we'd printed. I checked every name: Aunt Twyla, Cousin Rook, even the newer ones: Calla's girlfriend, Reggie's co-worker, Blair's roommate. No one would be missed this time. We laid out welcome baskets in each room, snacks for the kids, soft socks, a card with Wi-Fi details. For the older guests, I added herbal teas and a note in my own handwriting. Nothing fancy, just, "I'm glad you're here. Rest well." It was the first time I had prepared a house for others, not for a sale, not for show, for people, for belonging. That night, just as I was reviewing the final arrivals list, a message pinged on my phone. "Uncle Reggie, I'll come." My heart lifted for a second, then dropped again when I read the second part. "Some folks won't like me being there. Just saying." I didn't hesitate. I texted him back. "You're not a side character here. I'll save you a seat at the main table." And I meant it. I assigned him a room near the library, a corner room with tall windows. Somewhere warm, visible, not shoved to the side. The next morning, more messages rolled in. Cousins confirming flights, asking about snow boots, if their kids would be okay with the food. As I answered them, I noticed something strange. These weren't just logistical questions. They came wrapped in something heavier. One cousin asked, "Do I have to dress up? I mean, it's not going to be like Lynn's thing, right?" Another said, "I just hope no one brings up Sarah's kids again." I swear, every year it's like their resumes get read aloud. I began to see it. This wasn't just my rebellion. This was a quiet exodus. A slow, polite walkout from years of expectations, forced smiles, and comparison. It wasn't just me who'd been tired. By Tuesday, the early guests started arriving. A snowless chill filled the air. Cars pulled up the drive, kids ran out first, screaming at the echo their voices made in the woods. Parents followed slower, carrying bags and layers of old family tension they didn't know how to put down. The first sign of stress came when two kids nearly knocked over a lamp, chasing each other through the living room. One mom apologized profusely, clearly embarrassed. I waved it off and showed them the kids' room. We'd set up games, beanbags, books. "Let them be kids," I said, "just not next to the fireplace." People adjusted slowly. Some were too helpful, disappearing into the kitchen, asking if they should wash dishes. I had to pull a cousin aside and say, "You're a guest. Be one." I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was trying to show them what ease felt like. That afternoon, a hiccup hit. 2 flights delayed, one out of Chicago and one from Atlanta. Both had guests arriving at the same time now, and the car schedule fell apart. We didn't have enough 4WDs to get everyone up safely. I stood in the mudroom with Harlan, both of us staring at the whiteboard. Then I said, "Book another SUV. I'll cover it." He looked at me surprised. "No need to check budgets." "This isn't a spreadsheet," I said. "It's my family." That was new. I wasn't asking for permission. I was deciding. Later that night, a cousin posted a blurry photo of the fireplace with the caption, "Feels like a movie." I'd asked everyone to avoid posting until after the holiday, but I let it go. I didn't want to become another set of rules. Still, I quietly asked our photographer to prep a small album of curated shots, faces, laughter, hands, passing plates. Not the house. Not me. That evening I called Grandma Dahlia. I didn't expect her to say yes, but I needed to hear her voice. She answered softly, "I'm fine, honey." But she didn't sound fine. She sounded like someone planning something and not ready to say it aloud. Nina, her caretaker, texted me an hour later. "If I call you tomorrow, just say yes to whatever I ask." I didn't ask what she meant. I just replied, "Okay." Then right before bed, a number I didn't recognize lit up my screen. The area code was St. Louis. I didn't answer, but the message that came through said, "Enough, your mother's asking around. She knows something's up." The wind outside howled harder than usual that night. I lay in bed with the fire crackling low, staring at the ceiling, knowing the phone wasn't going to stay quiet for long. Thanksgiving morning arrived, cold and silver. I woke before the sun. The house was still. I walked through it barefoot, checking on things like it was my job. Fireplaces lit, kitchen warm, coffee already brewing thanks to Etienne's crew. In the dining room, the table was set, place cards arranged, flowers simple but elegant. This was it. Today, everything I'd built emotionally and otherwise would be seen. I stood at the head of the table for a moment alone and breathed it in. I reminded myself of something before anyone else woke up. If I let the old wounds drive me today would turn into a performance, a revenge play. But if I let who I am now lead, this could become something bigger than me. As guests trickled downstairs, the energy shifted. Some people tried to fall into old roles. One uncle got loud, cracking the same jokes he always did. One cousin slipped into the kitchen to start washing dishes. I pulled her out gently. "You're a guest," I said again. "Really. Sit. Talk. Be here." We had enough staff. I wasn't letting anyone hide behind chores this time. I broke up a group that was monopolizing the conversation, started new threads, moved people into different corners. I kept the house breathing. The tension buzzed under the surface, but it never exploded. It wasn't until late morning that the first realization hit. Aunt Twyla leaned over to me and whispered, "I thought it was just us who got uninvited." A minute later, a cousin said, "I figured Mom really was just tired." That's when I saw it. Mom had isolated each of us, fragmented the story, so no one would connect the dots. No one would feel emboldened to push back. But now here, we all were sitting in the same room finishing the puzzle. She'd drawn the lines. I'd erased them. Before the meal, I stood in front of the fire and said a few words. Not a speech, just enough. I thanked everyone for coming. Told them I wanted this to be a space where everyone felt seen, heard, wanted. I said I hoped this could be the start of something new. I didn't mention Sarah. I didn't mention Mom or Dad. I didn't need to. The truth was already in the room, sitting at the table, laughing in the kitchen. And then, just as everyone lifted their glasses, Harlan appeared in the doorway. "Your grandmother's here." She walked in slowly, holding Nina's arm, but her eyes were fierce. When she got to the center of the room, she looked right at me and said I wasn't going to miss the first time my grandson hosted a real family Thanksgiving. The entire room went still for a moment. That wasn't just a visit. That was a declaration. Later in the hallway, she pulled me aside. "I told your mother I had a headache," she whispered. Nina booked the car. We left before dawn. Nina gave me a look like, "Don't thank me yet." Then added, "I've already got 3 missed calls." The storm was coming, and social media wasn't helping. Cousin Blair had posted a photo of the table. Jasper uploaded a slow-mo clip of snow falling over the fire pit. Rook went live just for a minute, but long enough. I spotted the location tag. Stowe. It was out now. After dinner, while people scattered to board games and cocoa, I checked my phone. One message from Sarah. "Nice house. Didn't know you were loaded." Just that. But it carried a whole freight of meaning. Envy, resentment, shock, the disorientation of losing center stage. I didn't reply. I put the phone face down and walked back into the room where my people were laughing, playing healing. That night I slept deeply, but in the morning the buzzing started again. Calls, messages, voicemails. My mother, my father, my sister. I didn't pick up. Not yet. I stood by the kitchen window watching the snow start to fall. Etienne was setting out plates for brunch. Somewhere upstairs, kids were giggling, fire still crackling, coffee strong. I'd done it, but I knew I'd pay for it, and the bill was coming in fast. The morning after Thanksgiving, I stood in the kitchen pouring coffee as my phone buzzed on the counter like it was possessed. Missed calls, dozens of them, from Mom, Dad, Sarah, voicemails I didn't need to listen to. I already knew the tone, urgent, demanding, pressuring me to explain myself, to account for a gathering they were never meant to see. I didn't call back, not right away. The house was still full, the fire still warm, and people I cared about were laughing in the living room. I wasn't about to ruin that rhythm, not after everything it took to build it. I set a timeline for myself. Guests would have brunch. Kids would start their treasure hunt around the estate led by Quincy. Adults would sip cider and walk the trail behind the lake. And when the house had settled into a lull, I'd go into the library, close the door, call them back on speaker so I wouldn't slip into old habits, so I wouldn't let them trap me in their version of reality. I told Harlan to stay nearby in case things got loud or ugly. I sat down, took a breath, and hit callback on Mom's number. She picked up on the first ring. "What the hell are you doing, Gage?" Not a greeting. Not, "Are you okay?" Not even a pause. Her voice was clipped, high-strung, already vibrating with a mix of confusion and rage. I saw the photos. The house, the fire pit, the table. "You didn't think you owed us an explanation. I hosted Thanksgiving," I said. "At my house, in Vermont, and you didn't invite your own family. You texted me, Mom. You said this year was just for Sarah's family." There was a pause, just a beat, but it was there. "I meant smaller. Quieter. You could have said that. Instead, you told everyone something different. You told Aunt Twyla you were sick. You told Uncle Reggie not to stir drama. You told Blair's mom you were overwhelmed. Everyone got a different story. Silence. I didn't push. I didn't yell. I let the weight of her silence answer for itself. This wasn't a gotcha moment, I added. It wasn't revenge. It was something I built because you didn't leave me another option." She sighed. "You don't understand. Hosting everyone, it's a lot." "I do understand. That's why I did it. I just didn't lie about it." She switched gears. I could hear it in the tightness of her voice. "That house. How did you even afford that? What are you trying to prove, buying something like that and hiding it?" I blinked. "I'm not hiding. I sold my company. For $350 million. The line went quiet. I've mentioned it before. At Christmas, but no one asked follow-up questions. You were too busy praising Sarah for remembering to send Grandma a birthday card. Mom made a sound like she was going to say something, then stopped. "It's not about the money," she said finally. "It always is," I said. "With you. It's the first thing you asked about." Dad's voice came next. They must have been on speaker. "Son, what exactly are you trying to do? You drag half the family away and throw some massive event just to humiliate us." "No," I said. "I made space for people who didn't have a place to go, people who didn't get a text saying this year just Sarah's family." He scoffed. "We've always treated you both the same. You believe that. But my experience says otherwise. I don't recall." "You don't have to recall anything," I cut in. "This isn't about memory. This is about presence. I stopped waiting for a seat at your table. So I built my own." A voice broke in. "Sarah. You did this to get attention. You wanted people to see you, to compare us, to make my family look cheap. It was such a pure Sarah thing to say. Not one word about how it felt for me to be excluded. Not 1 ounce of curiosity about my experience. Just a sharp, unfiltered fear of losing the spotlight. I didn't post anything I said. Others did. Because they were happy. You made me look like a joke. That wasn't me. That was your own insecurity." Another beat of silence. Then I heard a creak behind me. Grandma Dahlia stepped into the library, walking stick in one hand, her eyes steady. She nodded toward the phone and I turned up the volume. "I came to Vermont," she said clearly, "because I wanted to. No one forced me. Mom Sarah tried." "No," Grandma snapped. "Enough. I've watched how this family treats Gage for years. You talk about fairness, but you've never once visited him in Austin. You've never asked about his work. You've never made him feel like he was more than a supporting actor in Sarah's life. Mother, no. You failed him. Not because you hated him, but because you made him invisible." The line went dead silent. Grandma sat beside me, took my hand. "I'll be staying here through the weekend," she said toward the phone. "And when I come back to St. Louis, there will be a conversation. A real one. You can be part of his life again. But only if you start showing up the way he needs. Not the way you feel like." I ended the call when she nodded at me. The messages started rolling in not long after. From Sarah. "It's a nice house. I didn't know you were doing that well." No apology. But her tone had changed. From Dad. "We should talk. Not a command. Not a guilt trip. Just a quiet step." From Mom. "Can we talk later?" I put the phone down. Outside, the family was gathering again. Quincy had organized a walk around the lake. Kids were tugging on boots. Someone was laughing too loud. I stepped back into the hum of it all, and I realized this wasn't just the biggest confrontation of my life. It was also the first time I didn't shrink to fit someone else's comfort. That night, long after the house had gone quiet, I scrolled through my phone. 3 message threads stood out. One from each of them. Sarah's was the longest. She'd started defensive, but the more she wrote, the more her voice changed. She told me she'd always felt like she had to be perfect, that her golden child role was more of a trap than a prize, that watching me host that gathering made her feel exposed, not because I had outdone her, but because it shattered the illusion that she was the only one who mattered. I always thought I had to win, she wrote, and the only way I could win was if you stayed small. I put the phone down and sat with that. She hadn't been proud. She'd been afraid. All along. Dad's message came next. Short, but heavy. I didn't realize how much you'd done. I never asked. He didn't explain. He didn't justify. He just admitted it. And that meant more to me than any long-winded apology ever could. Mom's was different, tentative, like someone inching into cold water. Would it be okay if I came to visit sometime? I didn't answer. Not yet. Because I knew if I replied right away, I'd fall back into the fixer role. The peacemaker. The child who made everyone feel better no matter what they did. And this time they needed to sit in it. They needed to understand what they'd missed. Not just about the Thanksgiving weekend. About me. Later that week, Sarah sent another message. This time late at night. She said she envied my freedom. That I could build a life without constantly wondering if I was good enough. She told me she feared being irrelevant. That all her achievements had been about staying important. And maybe she'd never really felt that important to begin with. It was the first time I saw her clearly, not as the rival who stole everything, but as the girl who was just as afraid as I was. Dad followed with one more line. You did this without us. And that scares me. But it also makes me proud. He didn't say he was sorry, but he saw me. Finally. That was enough. I wrote a single email and sent it to all 3 of them. I told them Thanksgiving in Vermont wasn't an act of rebellion. It was a declaration, a new way forward. I told them if they wanted to be in my life, it had to be based on interest, presence, and real effort, not guilt or tradition. 3 things I needed from them. Ask about my life. Visit me at least once. Stop using me as a footnote in Sarah's success story. No grand apology required, just action.